right, Trevon. So now we have the Portland Trailblazers up next. You already know what it is. So give me your in-season grade and your off-season grade for the Portland Trailblazers.
Portland, I was pretty much lenient to them because obviously the Damian Lillard injury. Um, I feel like they showed a lot of fight throughout the season. And also one of the things that I highlighted when it came to them was they found Anthony Simons, who really showed a lot of promise to them this season. I feel like once Damian Lillard comes back, Anthony Simons can either play with Dame or play behind Dame. So I feel like that's something they can actually look forward to, even though the season didn't go as well. And they pretty much just tried to play it out, knowing that they weren't really going to go anywhere. So when you get your superstar back, I feel like that changes everything, and Dame is definitely going to help them out next year. So when it came to the end season, it wasn't really much to note other than I gave them a B minus because I feel like without Dame they did pretty well. And now looking at off season, I gave them a B. Reasons being they re-signed Dame, which is the most important thing you want to do. You always want to re-sign your superstar. They traded for Jeremy Grant, which is another piece that a lot of people like. He's a versatile wing, and I feel like he'll add some defense to them. I never really felt like they were much of a defensive presence, but this gives them something. Also, speaking of defense, you signed Gary Payton the second. That's something big. You know, he just won a championship with the Warriors. Not much NBA experience, but he just had a deep run in the playoffs and won a championship. So that's going to add something to the team. And they drafted Shaedon Sharpe. The thing about Shaedon Sharpe, he was at Kentucky last year, but he didn't really play many games, I believe, due to injury. I'm not really 100% sure. It's kind of been a mystery to me. I never really knew the reason why he didn't play, but I know he didn't really get to play, and there were a lot of questions about him coming into the draft. But before the college season last year, I think he was projected like a top five pick, and I think they got him at 7. So he's another question mark, but he has a lot of promise and a lot of talent, and they seem to be invested in him. So I feel like Portland will have a better season next year, probably fighting for that play-in spot. But I think they did good with the hand they were dealt last season.
Yeah, no, I think you brought up some really good points, man. I gave them a C plus because it like taking Dame's injury into account, you have to consider that because like you mentioned, he is their superstar. Like you put him on the court, he's gonna change a lot of those games. He's gonna change the fortunes of your season. So I definitely did take that into account, but at the end of the day, they still were not great in terms of winning. But like you mentioned, they fought, especially develop while they were developing their young guys. They fought. They didn't give up in games. And I think trading CJ, that was a positive for them, getting back good compensation. Overall, I think it was a C plus because of the hand that they were dealt with the injury to Dame and also developing their young guys, but still fighting. So I think taking all that into consideration, it was a C plus. For the offseason grade, I give them a B minus. Like you mentioned, all the good stuff first. Signing Damian Lillard, signing Gary Payton, signing Joe Ingles, um, and then also Jeremy Grant, which I think is going to be big for them, uh, especially on the defensive end, because we never saw Portland as a defensive team, in years past because they had a small backcourt and their interior defense wasn't as good. So they were never really good at defense. I think adding Jeremy Grant does that. The only reason I give him a B minus is because I'm not really sure about Shaedon Sharpe. Like you mentioned, he didn't play much in college, and in the summer league, he didn't really play that much. And when he did play, you can see the athleticism, you can see, quote unquote, the potential, but I don't know. It's just an unknown commodity to me. Maybe he can turn out to be something like a Anthony Simons, because Anthony, when he came in, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, uh, he wasn't, he didn't take the traditional route. He wasn't, talked about as much as people that went to college. He was more of a project, and they helped him develop. And he is a great player playing behind Dame. I feel like he did a great job last season, taking over for Dame while when Dame got hurt, and growing his game and improving. So maybe he could do. Maybe Shaedon Sharpe can do something similar to what Anthony did, but at this point it's kind of iffy to me about that.
Also, he's also is a different aspect, and I think he can go very well with Dame and Anthony or whoever they put out on the court. We'll see once the season comes, but Shaedon Sharpe, uh, he's a little bit different than guards that they have had because he is taller.
He's six
They've
six.
had, yeah, he's 6'6". Dame and CJ were 6 foot at best, maybe. But Shaedon Sharpe kind of gives you those similar ball handling skills, that playmaking ability, scoring ability. At least from what scouts say, we haven't really got to see much action of him. But I mean, I've seen his high school footage, and he's a pretty all around player and very talented. I could see why they thought he was going to go top 5 before whatever happened at Kentucky. He was picked number 7 still though, but pretty much just the size difference from what Portland has been used to. The backcourt is something they've always talked about. I feel like he brings a different aspect while still giving some of those same qualities that you get from a guard like a CJ or Dame. So I think he'll piece very well with Dame and whatever other guard perimeter players they put out there.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I just it's just unknown to me, so I just
To everybody, really.
don't know. Yeah, I wish he could have played more in the summer league so I could see his game a little more,
Yeah,
but
got hurt.
that's the only reason. I'm not saying he's gonna be bad. I'm just saying I just don't know. I haven't seen much of him, so that's just where I'm coming from. But overall, like next season, projecting where they may be in the rankings and all that good stuff, I think that they will make the playoffs again. Probably towards probably like 6 to 9 range. I'm thinking. I think that they'll either be in the play in or they'll just make the cut to be in the playoffs.